Here's a quick word from our sponsor.
Vercel is the platform for front-end developers, providing the speed and reliability innovators need to create at the moment of inspiration. Founded by the creators of Next.js, Vercel has zero configuration support for 35 plus front-end frameworks, including SvelteKit. We enable the world's largest brands like Under Armour, eBay, and Nintendo to iterate faster and create quality software. Try out Vercel today to experience the easiest way to use Svelte.
Radio.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Svelte Radio, the premier Svelte podcast online, the best one, probably the only one, but I like it. It's ours. I am joined by my beautiful co-hosts, Brittney and Antony. Hello.
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 Hey.
Been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a while. What have you guys been up to?
I went on vacation, which was really nice.
Oh.
Beautiful Southern Caribbean.
That sounds awful. Yuck.
It was just amazing. I'm missing it right now because it is freezing here for some reason. It is supposed to be the most beautiful time of year. The only time to live in Michigan is like this time of year, and it is all of a sudden freezing again. So I don't know. My mom visits, and this is what happens. So she's here right now, and
just ban her.
Bad weather with her. So
I think you should just ban her.
Yeah.
From coming. Then it'll always be nice. It's the opposite over here. We have like a heat wave or something. It's 27 degrees Celsius, so that's 80 Fahrenheit, I think. Which is
like the
very
weather
warm for us. Right.
That's very warm for you?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. Can't you see I'm all red and stuff from the sun?
See, it was 90 2 weeks ago, and that's a little warm for us. So 90 Fahrenheit is like a little too warm, but
yeah, we have the same. It's about 30 something, I think, and it's too hot. Yeah. It's far too hot. Our house is not built for it. Like we can't sleep at night.
Cold.
Hey,
it's like 60 right now here.
Oh yeah,
it's so cold.
Yeah, that sounds awful. All right, so today we have two guests with us, and we're going to talk about SvelteLab. So I'd like to welcome Antonio and Paolo. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, pretty good, I guess.
It's a bit of a rough period for me because I am super busy, but it's good.
All right, cool. So, you two have worked on this project of yours called SvelteLab. But before we get into that, so the short of it is that it's a REPL. But before we get into what it actually is and what we actually do with it, maybe we could talk a bit about like who you are, where you're based, where you're coming from, what's your background with regards to Svelte and I guess web development in general.
Okay, I guess I'll start. So I'm into web development since 2017, I think, when I learned about it in university, and I learned how easy it is to build UI with HTML and CSS and got really excited about all the possibilities. And then late 2020, I wrote an article on web components and learned that Svelte has a really nice option is a really nice option for creating web components because the syntax is so simple, and it's been a love story ever since. And a super huge fan, and just love working with it.
Yeah, so in Svelte 4, we're actually getting even better web component support as well. So that's great for people that are interested in that.
Actually, using less web component APIs is better.
Yeah.
I'm into web development actually from 17 years ago, because it all started because I like to play RPC games, and I used to play by chat. So there were these wonderful websites built with PHP where you can chat and build your word, and it was very cool. And I learned a bit of HTML there back then. And then a friend of mine said, "Okay, we want to build one of those play by chat website." And I thought that HTML was enough, and I said yes. And then I discovered that it was not what was needed. But instead of just say, okay, we can do it, I decided to start to learn. And so I got into university, and I actually left the web development for a bit, maybe for the better, because basically I skipped all the jQuery, the Ember.js phase, and I come back when React was popular, and I started to look into React, Vue, and then I saw the talk where Rich presented Svelte 3. And the moment he said it was a framework that used a compiler, it was like mind-blowing for me, because it's such a powerful idea, and it blew me away that no one else ever think of that. And so I fell in love with Svelte, because it's also very similar to HTML, and it's very powerful in my opinion. And now basically I use Svelte for every side project, and soon for work too. And
Oh, nice. Nice. All right, you built this very cool project called SvelteLab. How did that come about? Like, what inspired it? What started the idea?
It was all Antonio's fault. No, because no, it's because when Svelte Society announced the hackathon, Antonio said, "Who wants to team up?" And I said, "Me," because we actually kind of know each other just by interacting with Svelte Twitter, because again, we are both Svelte lovers. So we, for example, we both made Advent of Vue in Svelte using the Svelte REPL. So we both are very lovers of the Svelte REPLs. And so we started to brainstorming what we could do for the hackathon. And I had this idea because I always love to just, whenever I have to do something, I want to first do it in isolation. And it was perfect for Svelte component because we had the REPL. But then as soon as you start to add something like navigation, it was not that powerful. And so we started to brainstorming this idea of a REPL that can run SvelteKit and tailored towards SvelteKit. And also the timing was perfect because there was the recent release about the Web Container API and Nodebox by Code Sandbox. And so we tested a bit and decided to go to the Web Container API, and then we started to build the actual project.
Yeah. So this might be a dumb question, but where do you actually start when you're building something like this? Because it's a fairly complex kind of thing, right? Like you have to combine a ton of different features.
So basically, it's a lot of wiring up different parts that do the heavy lifting. We just glue everything together, in my mind. So we use the Web Container API to run Node in the browser. So that's also what StackBlitz is using, and also what the learn.svelte.dev website is using. So we run Vite and SvelteKit inside your browser, and then we basically just glue it to a file tree and an editor. We use CodeMirror 6, so we can also use it on mobile. And then we also just plug in an iframe where the web container side is running, and then you basically have it. Paolo did the proof of concept in like one afternoon or something. It was really crazy how fast it was. Done.
I mean, it was a proof of concept, a real proof of concept, because it was basically just a text area, a bunch of divs for the console, and an iframe. But actually, the Web Container API is pretty powerful because obviously under the hood, they are doing a lot of crazy things that I don't even know. But the API surface is very small. It's very minimal because you can mount some files, you can run spawn some process, and so you just run pm create svelte, and it will just create the project inside the web container. You can run pm create dev pm dev to launch it, and then you get the iframe URL from them. So obviously, again, this was a very basic POC. And then we started to look at a lot of things that an editor kind of required, because, for example, the ability to write inside your terminal, the ability to even just some minuscule things, like, for example, the fact that if you run a command and then you press arrow up, you want that command to be shown again. And in the beginning, we actually created a sort of terminal, homemade terminal, but it was impossible to maintain. So we actually use Xterm.js, which is another super cool project because it's a full-blown terminal inside made with JavaScript. And that actually interprets ANSI code, and it does a lot of heavy lifting for you. Again, as Antonio said, we are actually just gluing together things, but that's kind of what web development is. So,
I mean, is this the sort of thing? Is this the sort of thing that like VS Code uses for their terminal and Gitpod and things like that?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. So all these giant projects, they're built on this one small project that's open source, maintained by this one person. In what's the meme? XKDC package. What's the? I'm sure everyone has seen it. Like this,
the pile of different boxes on top of each other, and then the one small box that's about to tip over.
There's like this one open source project that like the whole world would crumble, basically.
I mean, that's happened a million times. Right? OpenSSL is an example of that, I think. But I guess it's interesting because I always wondered about that sort of thing. Using VS Code and seeing the terminal in there and thinking it's kind of my terminal, but it's kind of behaves a little bit differently, and I didn't know why that was the case. So it's interesting.
Yeah. So when it comes to building something like this, you mentioned it's just like tying together things, gluing things together so that they're working. What kind of stuff is like what parts of this? Actually, before we head into that, let's talk a bit about the features. So people understand more what you can actually do here. So you have a command palette, for example. I'm sure this is not something that you could just like take off the shelf like some ready-made project. Like you probably have to build a lot of this stuff yourself.
Yes, actually, there was a very good project about a command palette made in Svelte, but there was some itches that we don't properly like it, so we ended up building ourselves the command palette. But I think this is also the beauty of open source, because obviously we borrowed the good part of that command palette and added something else. For example, we also wanted the ability to swap files from the command palette. So actually, just like VS Code, you can run the command palette, and if there is the angle bracket at the start, you are running in command mode. Otherwise, you are running in swap files mode. So there was these little things that we needed because we wanted to create these, and so we created our custom command palette. Just for example, like the file tree, and that's actually maybe the things that I like to work least in SvelteLab, because dealing with the file tree and file system, it's always a mess. It's always a mess.
Yeah.
But even then, we had to do something custom because there was some very specific issue. For example, the fact that we wanted specific icons for specific files. So we
Yeah,
built a lot of things custom, and we had a kind of roadmap during the hackathon because we had a minimum hackathonable project. So it was not an MVP, but a minimum hackathonable project because we knew we wanted some feature, and without that feature, it wasn't even worth to present for the hackathon. But then we actually reached the MHP mid hackathon, if I can remember correctly.
Wow.
And so we spent the last part of the hackathon to refine something and to make it as much as possible tailored towards SvelteKit, because that was our real goal. Like, we wanted an editor that could really integrate with the SvelteKit development.
That's impressive.
So I'm looking here at so you mentioned the file tree here, and I noticed that you hide a lot of the files that you can usually see in like a Svelte project, and I think that's probably a good thing. So things like I can't even remember what kind of files that I could usually see in here, but it's like git ignore files and all of this stuff.
Yeah, so the idea was that we're mostly working inside the source folder. If you're doing quick experiments, you probably won't even touch anything at the root. So you can just show the file tree from the source folder, so all the clutter just gets away. You can focus on the actual stuff that you're trying to do, and the file tree is a bit more cleaner. But you can just use a command, or inside the file tree in the menu, you can toggle it back and forth. So if you need to edit a file, you can also search for the file in the command.
It's like a focus
palette.
mode.
Yeah.
I wish that was easy to set up in VS Code. I know that you can, but it's not like quite as intuitive as I would like it to be.
Yeah. VS Code has some issues that could be like, it could be a bit better in some sense. All right. So there's also, you have a command palette, and then in that you can do a bunch of stuff. You can install things like Tailwind and other things through SvelteLab, which is a great project by Jay on the Discord, Jacob. And I assume this was mostly just like building a modal that popped up, and then you actually just run the command in StackBlitz. Maybe I'm simplifying here, but
that's basically it. We just have buttons for each of the packages SvelteLab provides, and then we just run the terminal command, and then it does the rest. So we, again, just plugging stuff in, just gluing stuff together to make it a nice experience, but the heavy lifting is done by the SvelteLab on that part.
Exactly, but it's such a nice like user experience on the front end. Like, you plugging all of that in for you makes like a nice developer user experience on the other end.
One of the best command, in my opinion, that I use is a lot. I use a lot is searching the SvelteKit doc right inside SvelteLab, because it helps you maintain the focus.
Context. Yeah.
The context, exactly. And very often I don't even need to open because if you then click on the record, it will brings you to the actual SvelteKit documentation. But given that you also get a bit of context inside the search, sometimes I don't even need that. Maybe I don't remember the signature of a function, and so I just type there and search. Obviously, the create root, for example, is another one, because we have it in VS Code, and it's very, very good and very, very useful. And obviously, StackBlitz will never implement something like this, because they have to be as broad as possible. So, for example, if you open a React project inside StackBlitz, there's no way to create a root. That's the kind of things that, in my opinion, made SvelteLab really tailored toward the SvelteKit development.
So I guess following up on that, like these very specific Svelte and SvelteKit features? Like, do you have any other ideas that you want to implement that you haven't gotten around to yet? Like, I'm not sure what that would be, but
we are actually, for the moment, we are trying to enhance the experience in editor, because one key part that, in my opinion, is missing is the integration with the Svelte language server and the TypeScript language server. Because, I mean, having autocompletion and having diagnostics, it's very, very important, in my opinion. That's probably why 90% of the people use TypeScript. And so it's very, very important to have these. We have made some progress, because right now we are integrating the diagnostics with SvelteCheck. So we use SvelteCheck under the hood to check your whole project, and so you get errors and diagnostics inside the Svelte file and the TypeScript file from SvelteCheck. But we are also trying to actually use the Svelte language server inside the Web Container API and communicate with that. We are missing a bit of things, because there's actually, I think it's actually a bug, because we are also communicating with the StackBlitz team, because they actually like SvelteLab very much. So we are communicating with them, and there is actually, I think it's a bit of a bug. So if I run the Svelte language server through NPX, it doesn't work, and it should work. So they are actually trying to fix this. But
so hopefully at some point it'll just start working for you guys then.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to say, the StackBlitz team is one of the most collaborative and working with like the browsers and other people trying to get this out and like working. And I mean, it's also like good for them as a company, obviously, like it's their product and they want it to work well, but they're trying to like do something good for the ecosystem too. And
they actually made a PR for Chromium, if I can remember correct, to fix a bug that was affecting the Web Container API.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very nice people. I got to meet their developer relations person, Sylvia, at a conference a while back. Super nice.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
Where is this hosted? Sorry, is this all hosted on Fly? Because I can see some Fly Toml stuff in there. It's all on Fly.
No, actually, it's just the Pocket Base instance that is hosted on Fly, and the SvelteLab is actually all hosted on the edge on Vercel.
On the edge, nice. On the edge as well. Wow, that's cool.
Did it go down yesterday?
I think no, because
Edge is on Cloudflare, right?
Well, it is, but it uses. It uses AWS routing from that region, so it may have been inaccessible. Depends on various factors, but I think even Edge went down, which is a shame. Yeah.
All right, so let's talk a bit about your choice of Pocket Base. Like, why did you end up picking Pocket Base? So Pocket Base, for anyone who is not aware, is like a open source Firebase project, kind of competitor or alternative is maybe a better word.
Yeah.
So,
I think it just speaks to me because it's similar to Svelte. It's super simple. It just like one thing very well, very focused, very easy to set up, and it just works out of the box and plays pretty nice with Svelte as well. So
also the front end, the front end for Pocket Base is built with Svelte. So
yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah, it is a very nice project. Do you like how do you use it? Do you use it for authentication of users? Like, do you store files? Like, how does it work under the hood? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, we use it for authentication. So because you can actually, I mean, a basic OAuth flow was simple enough, but it's provided, so we decided to use it.
That makes sense.
So we use it to authenticate, and then we also use to store all the REPLs. And another thing that because we choose Fly.io was because we wanted something very simple, and Pocket Base under the hood uses SQLite, so we don't wanted something heavy. I mean, not that Postgres is heavy, but it's heavier than SQLite.
I mean, it requires another server or
exactly.
instance of some kind, yeah.
And so it was very easy to set up because actually it was, I think, a Docker file on Fly.io. It's not very heavy. It's not very, and it's very easy also to work with. And there's also the ability to store actual files. But since we actually needed the whole file structure, it's just a blob, a big JSON inside Pocket Base. Inside Pocket Base.
So the whole file structure, including the code for each file, is that just one big JSON?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I imagine that could be that could get hairy if someone if someone has like a huge project in there.
That's why, for example, we limit the file, because we recently added the file upload ability, so you can upload assets, but we had to limit the amount of data.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, if you are building a super huge project inside SvelteLab,
you should probably build it locally.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
SvelteLab is for quick experiments. So we actually thought about maybe we should actually upload files. But then, for example, the whole SvelteLab repo, excluding node modules that does not get sent to Pocket Base, is like 200K. So if you extrapolate just the files, just the code, obviously it's not that heavy. So we are pretty confident that we can continue like this. And if someone will upload like a Windows file system inside SvelteLab, we are screwed, but we will shut the Fly.io instance down and
I don't think
I have a question about sorry, Kev, carry on.
No.
Well, my question isn't really Svelte related. It's kind of Pocket Base related, but obviously Pocket Base uses SQLite, and SQLite has this JSON data store. But where is that JSON data store stored? Because I thought Fly was like basically Docker containers, and Docker containers are ephemeral. So how does it get persisted forever and ever and ever?
Yeah, you can attach a volume in Fly.io. And
cool.
There's also, I mean, they have a pretty generous free tier also for volumes.
Nice.
In the future, we might, because one thing that we wanted to add was a bit of some replica around the world on the edge to facilitate that. But also, we're actually using regional edge on Vercel. So it's actually just on, I think it's in Washington.
Okay.
So it's closer to our instance of Fly.io.
So when it comes to using Pocket Base for something like this, I have no idea like what kind of numbers you're seeing, but you always hear this thing about like, oh, you shouldn't use SQLite for things that are write heavy, etc. Like, have you seen any issues with people complaining about not being able to save or stuff like that?
No, and I think also because from what I've read, I think Pocket Base is you can easily handle like 10,000 connection concurrently. Yeah. So and we don't have 10,000 connection concurrently. We wish we have, but obviously we are on a much smaller scale. So we never run into problem. I hope someday we will run into problem, and then we can.
It's a good problem to have.
Exactly, it's a very good problem to have.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Any other things that we haven't touched on that we should maybe talk about?
One thing I would like to say is because SvelteKit is like the basic or the core for everything you want to do in Svelte, it's really nice because we don't have to make any assumptions. We can make assumptions on what kind of build setup we are using, and we can like tailor it for any kind of Svelte application. So from small component tests to like a whole routing test, you can do everything with SvelteKit, and we can just plug into that with one unified tool. So that's really nice that these things are so coherent and working together.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just got an idea here. Like, have you thought about having? So at the moment, when you go to the SvelteLab website, you just get thrown into like a Hello World kind of project.
Yeah.
What about having different kinds of basic project structures that are already set up? Is that something you've thought about?
That's something that we need really to address. And so I want to publicly say that we have documentation. So if you go to docs.sveltelab.dev, because just as what just happened to Kevin, we actually have templates. So you have different kind of templates. You can set up your default template from the command palette, or even just open a new template. So we have, for example, TypeScript template, where TypeScript is already set up. We have Tailwind template. We have Tailwind plus TypeScript. We have MDSVEX. And we are also, one of the idea was to being able to tag one of your REPL as a template. So you can even just fork it, but other than fork a REPL, you can also share your REPL as a template so that the other people just go and can choose your REPL as a template, as a basic template.
Oh, nice. I completely missed this feature. Definitely something I'm going to take a look at.
Yeah, that's like kind of an issue we ran into because we have so many features, but they are all hidden in the command palette.
Yeah. So
we just recently added a new menu bar, so you can have like a drop down of different sections where the features are maybe a bit more discoverable. But yeah, it's also why we have the docs now, so people maybe have more ways of finding stuff.
Could you maybe have like a modal that pops up? So I don't know if you're using a service worker of some kind. Like every time there's a new version, you can pop up a modal that shows like a changelog. Oh, here's the new.
Yeah, I'm always against having something that interrupts, because if I want to experiment, I just want to go on the page and start editing. And that's why enough. I don't want anything blocking.
But then again, like if you only do it for major new features, then I'm sure. Like
in VS Code, when they have a new change, it like pops open a new tab. And
I
almost always just exit out. Like I never read it because it's interrupting to your flow.
Yeah, no, you're right. Could also have it down in the right corner if you don't hide that thing.
Yeah,
like we have the intro.
Yeah, something like
pop
that.
Over
I don't know.
Pop up.
Here's a quick word from our sponsor.
Vercel is the platform for front-end developers, providing the speed and reliability innovators need to create at the moment of inspiration. Founded by the creators of Next.js, Vercel has zero configuration support for 35-plus front-end frameworks, including SvelteKit. We enable the world's largest brands like Under Armour, eBay, and Nintendo to iterate faster and create quality software. Try out Vercel today to experience the easiest way to use Svelte.
And also another thing that I would like to go towards with SvelteLab, because one thing that I really love, for example, about CodePen is the ability to see what other people are doing. And I think this is also very true for the Svelte REPL, because if you search something Svelte related on Google, you will get a lot of Svelte REPLs that are doing maybe just that thing that you're looking forward to doing. So I would like to experiment a bit with these, like having a showcase page where you can look at what other people are experimenting on SvelteLab. Right now, for example, you can share your profile page to let other people look at all your REPLs, but I don't think anyone has ever did that. I mean, I know about this feature and I never did it, so I think a lot of people.
Yeah, basically because every single REPL is there, so all the Hello World stuff where we just tried out is also there. So that's also why we think about adding some type of collection or playlist where you can like group different REPLs together. So if you have like a bug report and have the solution and you want to keep them together, you can do that way. But yeah, that's not implemented yet, and we're just thinking about how that could look.
It would add a bit of a social feature, but you would also get more traffic and SEO to your site. So I think that would be beneficial.
Yeah.
Also, one thing that I want to say is the fact that you can download a SvelteLab project. So in the command palette, you can actually download that zip. And I want to say it because luckily there are quite a few people that are using SvelteLab to provide reproduction for bugs in SvelteKit. And I saw a lot of times maintainers that say, okay, can you please do it in StackBlitz because we can download this. So you can download it.
So just a question about other features. What about collaboration? How difficult is that? Obviously, I guess it somewhat depends on the code mirror stuff.
Yeah, I think collaboration it's actually, I think, a core package of Code Mirror, but for the moment we don't have collaboration. And I mean, one of the issues might be that obviously we will need another external service for the WebSocket, because
I mean, Pocketbase has support for real time, so
if you can use it with the code mirror stuff,
so maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe
that's worth a try.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
That would be cool. But then you have to build all of this stuff around like who gets to edit, who is allowed to delete, add files, all that stuff, and that's probably like a lot of stuff to add.
The next hackathon.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Next year. So I think that's it for my questions, at least. Brittney, Antony, do you have any?
No, I think the only things that we didn't mention, we talked about it beforehand, but we were talking about web container support being in Safari. I tried it last weekend on an iPad, and you have to actually use the Safari browser on an Apple product. So I used Firefox and Chrome and Edge, and you can't use those browsers even though they use Safari under the hood. You have to use actually Safari, which sucks, but
yeah. I'm actually using Safari now to check out the SvelteLab website.
Of course you are.
You like Safari.
That is true. All right. So
yeah, my only question really, I guess is sort of aside from adding features to this, where next? What's the next big thing?
I think the thing we are focusing right now is providing the correct IntelliSense for Svelte project. So this is a thing we are kind of focusing right now, and then collections, absolutely, and then we are kind of experiment. Again, this is a bit of a busy moment for us, so we are actually working on SvelteLab, but not as much as I would like to. I would like to work a bit more on SvelteLab, but obviously times come and times go. But we will continue to work on SvelteLab because, again, it's our baby and we love it, and we want to bring it to the next level.
Cool.
Yeah.
And also people are using it and people are sharing links. It's so amazing to see people from the community sharing examples using it. It just warms my heart that people actually use it.
Yeah, because
I know y'all are both really busy too, but it would be really nice to have some of those features integrated into like VS Code too. If anybody wants to make an extension that does that would be great. To have like just SvelteAdd thing where you could do the command palette and do SvelteAdd, or have the hiding the stuff on the sidebar would be great.
I've always thought like SvelteAdd should be like a part of the Svelte
the actual Svelte extension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, or even just like, because now it's a separate external project. Like, and I understand that they don't want to bring on more packages and take on more responsibility, but
bless anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But it's kind of like one of those essential things that I think more people would use it if they knew about it, and I think blessing it would help with that.
Do that. Yeah.
I mean, I actually sometimes I also ask the Kev about this because I'm kind of vocal about SvelteLab, but that's not because I built it. I mean, that's also because I built it. I'm proud of SvelteLab, but it's exactly because I think it's something that the Svelte ecosystem needs. So if tomorrow Puru comes in and say, okay, I rewrote the whole Svelte REPL and now it's just like SvelteLab, I will be vocal exactly at the same the same way.
Yeah, something tells me though that we're gonna have like the regular REPL, and I think that it makes sense to have them both, right? Because just building you can definitely feel the difference in snappiness, if you will.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
The amount of time it takes to instantiate a project and so on. So for quick Svelte only stuff, it definitely makes sense to have the REPL. And that's definitely also what you kind of want to. I think that's what you want to show people first as well. Like, here's how to use Svelte, and then you move on to SvelteKit and SvelteLab.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Things for sure.
Okay, so we have reached our one of our standing topics for every episode. We are at the unpopular opinions section, and today it seems like Brittney has one. Let's hear it.
I have one because we were talking before the episode about a design that I received today that has this list view of a product card that it's basically like a table view and there's too much data in it. And so it looks like a table. And we got in this conversation and Kev, I think, said you should just use a native HTML table. And I said they are awful because they're not responsive. So you use like the native table element, and then when you get to a mobile viewer, if you start at like mobile responsiveness, you have to use divs and then change it. And that's awful to do like in code. Like you have to use some kind of logic to make that swap. And I don't like doing that in the code. I would rather just use the same markup and the same CSS and allow the CSS to do what it's good at, rather than using JavaScript to do something that the CSS should be doing.
Right.
So
we do this for CSS, by the way. I'll show you the code, but there's a little known attribute called content, and what happens is when you resize one of our tables, just using pure CSS, it drops into cards. With no logic, no JavaScript, nothing.
The display content?
Yeah, what happens is you add on each header element, you add an attribute called something like content, and then you can address that content thing in CSS and grab the text. And so in pure CSS, you can turn it into cards, which will basically give you like, a card representation of a table row, right? So you've got a bunch of cards.
Like it would change it to a grid view, basically. Oh, interesting.
It would, change it to a card view straight down.
I've never seen anything that would do that.
I'll show you.
I would love to see this as well.
I think everybody wants to see this. So
okay, well, I can show you.
Maybe we'll prove me wrong today.
Make a cheat sheet about these things and make it go viral because.
I mean, it's not my idea.
I will be as vocal about these as I am vocal about SvelteLab.
Just slap the Beyond logo on there for some free marketing.
I'll do it.
All right. Next up, I think you all have unpopular opinions, so I want to hear these. Maybe Antonio, maybe you could.
I think we are using too many microblogging sites now. We have Twitter, of course. We have Mastodon. We have Blue Sky, and I have not set up. I have not set up any kind of cross-posting, so I'm doing it by hand, and it's awful. I don't want to do it.
Is it just me, or did Blue Sky kind of die? maybe
I
don't think
just
it's
the
I
one.
dead.
haven't even looked at it in like
Yeah.
a month or
I'm
months.
sure
think
people are using it.
I'm currently using it, but I rarely check on Blue Sky. And I think
yeah.
the problem of Blue Sky is that they are missing a For You algorithm. Now they are released the custom feed things, and someone actually, I just discovered a Home Plus feed that should be kind of
Right.
for me. But I think the real power of Twitter, and I mean, at least for me, is the fact that you can just browse your For Me and get to see what other people that are not inside your circle, what other
Yeah.
people thinks. That I think
Yeah.
is very key. It's very important because if I have 20 subscribers, if I have 20 follow, it's kind of boring because I just see what those 20 people have to say, and that's
Yep.
kind of Facebook, and that's why Facebook is died, in my opinion.
Yeah, you kind of need that extra big feed before you get to before you've followed enough people, you need something to fill out the quietness or silence or whatever you want to call it.
Well, I think even when you do follow a bunch of people, those people have a set of opinions, and I think that it's nice to see other
Oh
opinions
yeah, for sure.
interpolated.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, you're right.
You
All
get
right.
inside a box if you don't like. You can get inside these like circles and not hear outside of the circles, and
Yeah.
that's kind of the problem with the world a little bit right now.
Yeah.
Twitter's encouraging that now, unfortunately.
Anthony?
Yeah, my rant, my whatever is. I mean, it's kind of recycled from an old one, but I feel so passionately about it that I have to say it again. Notion is not good. You should not use it. Notion is just crap.
Evergreen.
There is like
Agreed.
there's a guy who he made a Node consultancy back in the day. I think he was at one point part of the core Node.js team, but he's created an alternative to Notion called Decipad. A guy called Nuno Job, and that Decipad is actually he started one of these hosting companies.
What's it called?
I can't
Sorry?
remember. He's called Nuno Job.
Decipad?
Oh, sorry, yeah,
Nuno?
the tool's called Decipad. So him and a bunch of those guys have created a tool called Decipad, and it's kind of like Notion, but you have a focus on numbers. So somewhere between Notion and Airtable, and it's great. It's great if you're trying to build. I mean, it's all closed beta right now, but it's interesting to like look at what they've done, and they've got some demo workbooks. But basically, pulling a bunch of stats in a kind of database format, and then writing articles that use those stats and visualize them and do charts and things. So if you're presenting stuff as a business, like it's really cool for that. And I think, you know, this is kind of like the ranting section. This isn't my pick. This is my rant really. But I think that Notion tries to do too much, as I said before, and Decipad fills a niche whereby you do one thing really well. Airtable does one thing really well. Coda actually focuses on doing one thing really well, and it lacks some features that Notion does. There's space for all these tools and interrupt between them, but I think one that tries to cover all bases is never going to be good. And unfortunately, that is Notion right now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
the
really
main problem
like
I have with Notion is just it's so slow. I mean, they need
And
to
it's
either
really
rewrite
slow.
it in Svelte, and then maybe it's a good tool.
I think rewrite it in Svelte and maybe swap the database. You know, there's a few things that can go on there.
Account management, like you can't copy and paste, especially on mobile. Like it's just there's
No.
lots of things that are problematic with it, but I do like some.
You
of
can't
the
do it on
things about
desktop.
Notion. It's just
You can't copy paste full stop. No matter what you try and do, you have to find this
Yeah.
invisible pixel in the middle of white space to
between
grab
the
to start
blocks.
to
You're
select.
right. Like
It's rubbish. You can't delete properly. It doesn't delete. It just
What's
does do
the-
something else random.
what's the other open source tool that like Cassidy Williams is always on about? It starts with an O, I think.
Oh, there was one that
It's not
one
open
that came up
source.
the other day.
Obsidian.
Obsidian. Yeah,
Might be
that's it.
Obsidian.
It's not
Yeah.
open source though, sadly,
Oh, it's not.
but it's really good.
No, someone's made an open source one as well, and I can't remember what it's called now.
Log
Yeah, I mean,
stash, log, something with log. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Anyway, that's my rant. It's Notion again.
All right.
I
All right.
actually have two unpopular opinions, but one is very quick because I just thought about the fact that you can rewrite Notion in Svelte, and I'm sure if someone do it, I will call it like Svotion, so something like that. And I kind of hate this kind of names because I mean, it's cool. Some some names are cool. Like, for example, MDisVex is cool in my opinion.
That's not how it started. I'm pretty sure it started out being a very, very contentious name. It grows on you.
I actually wanted to call the SvelteLab Svench, like a workbench. But Paolo was against it.
We talk about
it's Svanvil, so like an anvil. Yeah, I was really forcing it.
And I opposed it because I kind of don't like the forcing the sv inside names if it's made with Svelte. So this is a quick one. And the other unpopular opinion, which I hope it's not unpopular, but I think PWA are fine. I mean, I think PWAs are way ahead especially if you need to work with React Native. And maybe I'm saying this because I'm currently working with React Native, but the amount of weight you take on your back if you are working with React Native, and all for maybe a bit of smoother animations, because I really don't see the reason to have an app, especially because on Android you can install PWAs as with the web APK. So you actually get a real app experience, and the amount of things you can do with native, PWAs can do a lot of things. You can vibrate, you can access geolocation, and the only thing that you miss is push notification. But even then, in React Native, you still have to set up Firebase to have push notification. So actually, you can't push notification even in React Native. So what's the point?
I think you, like Safari, just recently on their latest keynote, Apple introduced support for push notifications. So it should be possible to do now in all of the browsers, which is great. They actually pushed out a lot of good features for PWAs. I sound like a spokesperson for Apple, sorry.
You really do.
But honestly, like, I think now that we have these features that Safari has really lacked, and because Safari has been the only browser on iPhone, right? Yeah. We can now finally actually make PWAs that work across all phones. So I'm actually going to go out on a limb here and say that I'm going to make a prediction. And I think that we're going to see more PWAs and less native apps. Maybe we'll see apps built using things like Capacitor, which are basically just like web views wrapped in like some native shell or something, as far as I understand it. So yeah, maybe that's not such a spicy prediction.
I think one of the biggest challenges is the differences between all of the mobile phones and the way CSS plays between mobile views between those devices. Like there's different responsive units now. Like we have, I don't even know what all of them are.
They're like 100 of them.
Yeah, there's like lots of them now. And there's different things that you have to do because some browsers put their nav bar on the bottom, some put them on the top. And like it's weird how it shifts on mobile phones. So like there's still a lot of work in that space, but if we could do some CSS things, I think there's some things.
The new dynamic viewport height, dynamic viewport width are not just to address this.
No, I mean I don't know, I don't remember exactly what all of them are for, but they're like
they are trying to address that. I don't know if they do completely address it, and I don't know what the support is. I haven't fully looked into them yet. Is what I'm getting at. I don't know if we're fully there yet.
I'm sure we'll have to wait like 3 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Before Safari implements it. No. Or I guess Firefox nowadays.
Yeah.
Ouch. Yeah. So I think the trade. Yeah. I think the trade-off there is still kind of in the favor of PWAs, right? Because you have, like, if you build something native, you still have to configure it for Android and then configure it for iPhone.
Well,
it's just
we're
like,
having this discussion at work too. Like we have a PWA and a lot of people at work use their mobile phone to like they add things to their cart and then they go to their desktop
Right.
to actually place the order. So we need like a good mobile view, but we don't have teams that could build a native app. We build in Svelte. So there's not really a good native version of that right now. We would need to hire people that could build in a native platform. So it's a trade-off right now. So
Don't do it.
yeah,
Free yourself.
exactly. So we have a PWA. So it's
yeah.
Yeah, it's not just that it is easier to build. It's also that I don't really see the need for a native app. Once you can do all you can do with PWAs, and you can do a lot, like again, accessing, vibrating, it's a lot of things that you can do with a PWAs. I really don't see the benefit of learning a new platform, because you have to learn React Native. Also, you also have to have knowledge about Android and iOS development, because you will have to touch inside specific files, and it's a mess.
Yeah. All right. So I think that's our unpopular opinions. I don't have one. Maybe my pick actually is an unpopular opinion. We'll see. So do you guys have any picks? Or maybe I should go first. So my pick is global warming is great. And it's tongue in cheek because it's making Sweden very, very nice and hot and awesome for me. But everything else is probably going to the poop pile. So it's just a joke. But that's my pick.
as the polar ice cap around you is melting.
Yes.
And
I have a pick but it's for newly come parents, because it's actually a cartoon that my son likes to watch, which is called Bluey. And I really recommend this cartoon because it's wonderful. I very often find myself to just watch Bluey while my son is doing other things because it's good. It's basically a cartoon that talks about a family of dogs that lives in Australia, and they are super into imagination games. So there are those two small dogs that do all sorts of imagination games, and the father and the mother just go all in on the imagination games and continue to play with them. It's very awesome.
It is the best cartoon for a parent watching with a child. It hands down the best cartoon. My kids love it, and they're older kids too. They're 10, 9, and almost 9, and then 8, just turned 7. So still love it. Yeah. And my pick is Diablo 4. I just started playing 2 days ago and loving it so far. It's been really fun. Beautiful game to play. Entertaining.
Yeah, I saw someone got it running on Mac even. So maybe I should try it.
Is that impressive? I guess.
Well, actually, yes. So
this is
Apple,
so sad to me how long Apple has went with not having a decent gaming system, but they can do that because they.
I like the fact that the whole salesperson, Apple salesperson Kev, continue to emerge.
I have played I guess I didn't play Diablo 1. I played Diablo 2 back in the day. It was one of my first MMOs. I played Diablo 3 and then Diablo 4 now. But this is the first one I've played on a console. So I'm playing this on PS5. I played the other two on PC. So
it's on console?
Different. Yeah, so you can play it on anything basically. And I'm playing it on PS5, which is very different, but it's kind of freeing, not sitting at a computer. You can play with the controller, and you have to get used to the controls doing that, but it's a much easier experience, I think.
How does it work? Do you have like a cursor, or are you controlling the character? Or
No, you run. It's just like a normal platform game. Like you run with the joypad, and then the normal buttons, because you would play with the mouse, like with the left and right click. That is X and square, and then it just assigns buttons for the skills.
Okay.
Maybe that's
because
something
from what
I'll
I
try.
remember, you like click and then the character goes there, but now you just use the sticks.
Yeah,
I guess.
you just run with the joystick, and so that's nice.
much better.
Yeah, it is. It's so nice.
All right. Antonio, do you?
Yeah, so my pick is also a video game. I'm still obsessed with The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. I've put like 50 hours into it, but I feel like I've only scratched the surface. It's amazing how how full of stuff to do this game is. It's crazy and kind of makes me anxious because I won't never be able to do everything. But I'm having a very good time.
Yeah, so I was talking to a friend just before we started recording the podcast about, and he was completely sold on the game. Like, apparently you can make machines.
Yeah, you can like build crazy contraptions and stuff that moves on itself, and it's
crazy.
It's crazy. It's the most open world game right now, I would say.
Wow.
It can run Svelte.
All right, Antony.
Yeah, so my pick is weird because I always explain why my pick is not normal sounding every time, don't I? But anyway, my pick is basically, I don't like e-scooters, and it's not a rant. I don't like e-scooters because I find them irritating and they get in the way when I'm trying to cycle and stuff like that. But
you bought one.
But I bought one. And the reason I bought one, and it's quite different to a regular one, but I think walking to and from nursery every day a lot, or something that I did whilst I was trying to pick up the child from the cot or something, caused my tendon to have an injury of some sort. And it made walking very hard, and they're quite hard to heal and take a lot of recovery. So I tried to cut down on the walking. That was one of the pieces of advice I got from my doctor. And I was thinking if I could cycle there, it'd be great, because I can cycle there one way and push the pram back. But I have to lock my bike up at nursery, which I don't want to do, and vice versa on the way back. It's going to be really irritating. And I was trying to think of solutions whereby I could have some form of transport that's not like getting a bus or whatever. And so I realized if I get a really, really lightweight e-scooter, and I searched Amazon and stuff for ages to try and find one, I could actually put it on the pram when I got to nursery and then push the pram back with the scooter and the child in it. And I found one on Amazon called a Mega Wheels S1, and it's 8 kilograms in weight, right? And that's ridiculously light. If you imagine most e-scooters are quite big, heavy things, this one it looks like a regular scooter. The battery's so slim on the bottom, and it's dead cheap as well. Like, they don't cost any money. Relative to the 500 quid that scooters cost, this costs about £150. So it's really, really lightweight, really, really small, compact. I stick it on the bottom of the pushchair and just walk back with it and the child in one. So it's really convenient because it means I've cut my walking down by half, which is not normally a goal I'd have, but there you go.
Yeah, that sounds like an anti-goal.
No, I have to cut my walking down if I want to continue walking, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah, all right. I think that's all of the picks, all of the unpopular opinions, yeah, that's it for us. Thank you, Antonio and Paolo, for coming on and talking about SvelteLab.
Thank you so much for having us.
It took a bit longer to get this podcast sorted out, but we finally did it. So yeah, and to everyone else who's listening, we'll see you next week. Bye.
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 Hey, it's Kavir. If you like the show, please drop a review on your favorite podcast player. It would help out a lot. Thanks.